What's up, dummies? Today we're about to look at some YouTubers who went missing. This is the video right here. YouTube channels that were abandoned for crazy reasons. So these people went missing and there's crazy reason behind it. Let's watch this. This is gonna be insane. All right, let's check it.
A 26-year-old man from Vermont, USA. He spent most of his early years in the tiny town of Heinsberg.
Okay.
Life there was calm and peaceful, but with a population of less than 600 residents, it was also quite boring.
Damn.
Elliot wanted to do something more with his life. So, with his love for nature and exploration in mind, he saved up some money and traveled to the Philippines near the end of 2023. He wanted to slowly make his way through the entire country and witness its beauty firsthand. But just a couple months into his trip, he met a local woman named Carisha Jayla. The two started dating and got married just a few months after that, in July of 2023. Then, in January 2024, Elliot started posting videos on YouTube documenting his life in the Philippines with his wife. His videos were simple, without any over-the-top music or crazy editing effects, but they felt authentic and real, allowing him to amass a small but dedicated fan base.
7,000 subs, not bad.
Took a massive shift in May 2024 when he decided to move to the beachside village his wife was from in the Cebuco municipality. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before this spiraled into the worst decision he'd ever make.
Oh god.
You see, Cebuco is part of what's known as the Red Zone in the Philippines. Put simply, this is the most dangerous section of the country, especially for foreigners. Armed robberies, kidnappings, and even murders are not uncommon in this region, with over 40 Westerners going missing there in just the last decade. However, Elliot was well aware of this fact, as evident from his channel's description, which read, I'm Elliot Eastman. I am 26 years old and I came to the Philippines about a year and a half ago, where I met the love of my life deep in the mountains of the Red Zone of the Philippines. I will be showing you my day-to-day life as the first and only foreigner to have ever lived here in Cebuco for a long period of time. He mentioned the danger in some of his video titles as well. But despite the threat to his life, he still wanted to build a life in Cebuco.
So basically, this guy met his wife when he traveled. He met her, got married. Then he moved to the most dangerous part of the Philippines, where a lot of people that are from like the United States and stuff, they don't live there because it's dangerous. But he said he don't care. He doesn't care that it's dangerous, so he's going to live there. And something's about to happen. That's why he's in this video.
So he rented an apartment and even built his own grocery shop near the beach, all while documenting the entirety of his journey on YouTube. Now, there were times when he felt threatened and had to hide from some locals to avoid getting in serious trouble. But despite the somewhat dire circumstances, Elliot was enjoying his time in Cebuco and slowly building the life he wanted. However, just when things were starting to look up for Elliot, tragedy struck. The incident took place on the night of October 17th, 2024, when, after doing several short live streams throughout the day, Elliot went offline and sat for dinner with his wife and her parents. But then, a few minutes later, 4 men with guns barged into their home and started telling Elliot to go outside. These men were also wearing outfits similar to those of the Filipino police, likely in hopes of making Elliot more cooperative. Elliot, however, saw through their disguise and tried to run away. Unfortunately, that's when things went from bad to worse. One of them opened fire and ended up shooting Elliot twice, once in the leg and once in the abdomen. They then dragged him onto the speedboat they had docked near their home and sped off into the darkness. This was the last time anyone saw Elliot alive. By the time the police launched a search and rescue mission, the kidnapper's boat was nowhere to be found. The investigation then went on for nearly a month until the 12th of November. But when the police eventually located the kidnappers, they were forced into a shootout, resulting in 3 of the 4 culprits losing their lives. And while they did manage to arrest the last kidnapper, it was already too late. According to the kidnapper, Elliot succumbed to his injuries when he was on the speedboat. So the kidnappers simply threw his body overboard to hide the primary evidence of their crime. Unfortunately, the police were unable to locate his remains and pronounced him officially dead in December of 2024.
Are you kidding me,
However, one question still remained unanswered. Why? Why did these 4 criminals target Elliot? Well, the simplest explanation is also the most likely one. They just wanted to kidnap him for ransom. Carisha even had a first-hand experience with this, as back in high school, one of her Canadian classmates was kidnapped and held for a ransom of $50,000 US. That said, there's also a second potential explanation that has to do with Elliot's side business. You see, while operating his grocery store, Elliot also started lending the locals money for 20% interest. A local loan shark likely saw him as a competitor and sought to eliminate Elliot before he took away any more of his business. This would also explain why the intruders were so quick to open fire if they wanted to hold him for ransom.
Come on,
Regardless
man.
of their motive, the end result was the loss of a young man trying to make a
sad.
life for himself with his wife in a foreign land. His
Wow.
YouTube channel now sits abandoned, with its many uploads remaining as proof as the life he once lived.
Wow. Bro. Yeah, as you can see, this is his channel right now. I'm on his channel. So he's literally, like, he's passed away, bro. He fell in love with a lady that he met in the Philippines. He moved to, like, a bad part of the area because she lived there. Like, she was born there. She wanted to move there. He moved there. He didn't care. He says he's the first and only foreigner to live in Cebuco for a long period of the time. Basically, most foreigners don't move there because they try to kill foreigners. And this is his last video. In his last video, he's eating noodles and stuff. Bro, what? That's really sad, but we gotta see the other ones.
Benjamin Pardun, known online as Warner the Goobermeister, was a comedian creator on YouTube who primarily focused on creating a genre of memes known as YouTube poops, which is a subgenre of online humor that revolves around taking clips from other shows, usually cartoons, and editing them to have a bizarre, often nonsensical tone.
Okay.
Over time, Benjamin's channel had amassed over 8.7 million views, making him a well-known name in the YTP community. But after his upload on December 21st, 2021, he suddenly vanished from the internet, leaving his fans wondering what could have happened. Unfortunately, the reason for his disappearance was far more tragic than simply getting bored and moving on from the channel, as most of his audience had assumed.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like, I know that YouTubers disappear every single day. Like, I could easily die, like, tomorrow. Who knows? But, like, dude, it's just sad, like, seeing YouTubers who post videos and people who love these YouTubers just dying one day.
Place on the 27th of January 2022, when his older brother Chris tried to contact him many times but didn't hear back. Left with no other option, Chris called the police at around 8 p.m. to check on his parents and little brother. When the officers arrived at his house, the lights were on, but no one was answering the door. After repeated knocks, the officers knew something was off, so they decided to break in. But nothing could have prepared them for the horrific scene they saw behind that door.
Oh, no.
Inside, they found the bodies of Benjamin and his parents, all with visible gunshot wounds. However, what looked like a robbery gone wrong turned out to be far more tragic. According to the investigation, both Benjamin and his mother Deborah were shot by his father that evening, who, after committing the crime, decided to end things for himself as well.
Oh my god, dude.
The news of this incident was a massive shock for Benjamin's viewers, as he'd never mentioned any family troubles before.
So this kid was the YouTuber who was making, like, edits and stuff, and people really liked his funny videos. He was a kid, bro.
Chris later set up a GoFundMe page in November of 2022, which not only allowed Benjamin's fans to support the only living member of his family, it also gave some insight into what might have happened.
Dude, I didn't even realize it. This Benjamin kid, his brother, was the only one left alive, bro. Imagine, so this guy so the family had a mom, a dad, and 2 sons. The son died, the mom died, and the dad died. Imagine your whole family's just dead. And you're the only one left. Oh my god.
He was born in 2005 and was soon diagnosed with autism. This made it difficult for him to interact with people in person. Because of this, he was homeschooled, and at just 8 years old, he started uploading on YouTube, hoping to make friends and find a sense of community. So, sadly, Benjamin's condition was far from the only challenge their family had to face. Deborah was also suffering from nerve damage after an accident, and the father, Gregory, had also gotten in a car accident in the past and could barely walk. On top of that, the family was also struggling with severe financial issues, which could explain why Gregory felt the need to take such a drastic measure, seemingly out of nowhere. As Chris puts it, "My dad was a proud man. He was ashamed to ask or seek out help." Although Benjamin's content was somewhat niche, it left a big impact on those who came across it, with some even uploading new videos in his style to keep his memory alive.
Wow. That's nice of people, bro. All right, this next
Harley
one
Dilly was a YouTube channel run by a 14-year-old teenager from Ohio with the same name. He created the channel in 2013 to share his love of gaming, specifically the sports game Madden, with others. He also uploaded vlogs on YouTube, where he talked about anything that was on his mind that day. But for Harley himself, these were more than just videos. They were one of the many forms of escape he had from his troubled life. You see, Harley suffered from oppositional defiant disorder and was also diagnosed with high-functioning autism. This resulted in him getting into heated arguments with his parents quite often and subsequently ending up in a worse situation. In one instance, he even posted a video talking about how he was locked out of the house
scared.
after an argument with his mother, titled, "I'm Scared."
Oh
Hey
god.
guys, what's up? It is Harley Dilly. Probably one of my worst days in my life. I was at school and I was science test. I finished it and my computer says 1% battery left. So I get to the next class and I put it on charger as quick as possible, but it didn't charge. None of the computers would take a charge. So I took it back and I had to fill out a complaint, and that's one of the most expensive parts of the computer. And my mom said she's not paying anything. We argued for about a good 5 minutes. Then she snapped. She said she was gonna call the police, and she said she already did. And she locked me out of the house. So right now I'm outside. Yep, the house is locked.
What's
It is
wrong with his
3:30.
mom?
I haven't ate anything, and I still haven't even got to get my work done. My mom's gone. She
What's
won't
wrong with
answer the
his
phone.
mom, bro? Kicking
There
the
were also
kid out
allegations
of
of
the house?
some of his family members being physically
I see
aggressive
why.
to him. But despite all this, Harley was still a cheerful kid who wanted nothing more than to play Madden and grow his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this ambition was tragically cut short on
No.
December 20th, 2019,
No.
when Harley went to school and never came back. The day had started off rough. Harley was still upset after arguing with his parents the night before, as they had refused to replace his broken smartphone. He also didn't want to go to school that day. But his mother Heather woke up early that day and, after some more arguing, convinced him to go. He left his house just before 7 a.m., but he was somehow absent from school and didn't return home that evening either. Harley had disappeared without a trace. Surprisingly, his family didn't report him missing until 11:50 p.m. on December 21st, nearly 43 hours after he vanished.
What? This kid went to school. This kid, so his parents thought he went to school, but then he never went to school that day. He didn't come home that night. Then he wasn't home all day the next day, and then they reported him missing the next night. If my kid didn't come home from school, I'm figuring it out. It almost took 3 days for them to report him missing. The family's weird, bro.
Their explanation for the delay was simple. According to them, Harley had spent the night at friends' houses without telling them before, usually after an argument. They assumed this time was the same. However,
I mean, still, you gotta check in on your kid, bro. You still gotta at least be like, okay, are you at your friend's house? Like, I'm not gonna be a strict parent. I'm not gonna be like an over parenter where I'm like, oh, you can't go here, go here. Like, I want my kid to tell me where they're at all times. I just need to know where they're at, and then I'm cool with it. If you want to go down to the damn park, cool, but just let me know so I know where you are,
bro.
bro.
More wrong. Something that became increasingly clear as the police investigation dragged on for days without uncovering a single clue about his whereabouts.
What?
The only thing they found was this low-resolution picture of Harley going to school that was taken from a neighbor's security camera.
Wow, that was
And
the last
that was
picture
it.
of him?
Eventually, many other organizations, including the FBI, joined the search as well. They also distributed his missing posters nationwide and offered an $18,000 reward, hoping to receive any information that could lead them in the right direction. Unfortunately, although they received numerous tips, none led to any significant progress in the case. That is until the 13th of January, over 23 days after Harley went missing, when
23
the investigators
days.
made the big discovery. They were re-canvassing the area immediately surrounding Harley's home when one of the investigators decided to check out the vacant house directly across from the Dilly residence. This was a summer home and was fully locked at the time. There was also no indications of anyone breaking into the home. However, the investigators had looked everywhere else to no avail. This was one of their last options. So they acquired the key to this home and started looking around. They didn't find anything on the ground floor. But as soon as they climbed the stairs, one of them noticed a maroon puffer jacket lying on the ground, the same jacket that Harley was wearing on the morning of his disappearance. As they got closer, they also noticed his glasses lying on the floor as well.
What?
But there were no signs of Harley anywhere. Both the glasses and the jacket had also collected plenty of dirt, indicating that they must have been there for a long time. While they were looking around, one of the investigators noticed the chimney vent above where his glasses and jacket were discovered. This sort of vent is used to connect traditional wood-burning heaters. Curious to see what was in it, he reached into the hole, only for his hand to touch human hair on the other side. There was no doubt about it. That was Harley, stuck in the chimney. Officers quickly dismantled the wall, and sure enough, they found Harley's body inside, with his arms raised above his head. A later autopsy concluded that he likely passed away the day he went missing. His particular position at the time of discovery also helped investigators piece together what might have happened that day. As the story goes, Harley didn't want to go to school that day, so he decided to spend the time at the vacant home until the afternoon to make it seem like he went to school. But when he couldn't find a way in from the ground floor, he climbed onto the roof using the antenna tower beside the house. From there, he looked into the chimney and saw a relatively short drop and chose to climb down it to enter the house.
You're kidding me. This kid didn't want to go to school, so he went across the street into a house that nobody was in because it was a summer vacation house and it wasn't the summer. He goes in the chimney.
However, what he failed to realize was that this chimney didn't lead to a spacious fireplace. Instead, it only connected to a couple of small vents for heater exhausts, leaving him stuck at the bottom. Due to the way he climbed down, his jacket was likely halfway removed already. So he pushed it through the vent to free up some space, and his glasses fell through as well. Sadly, there was nothing else he could do in that position. His chest was pressed tightly against the chimney's wall, making it impossible to breathe, resulting in him slowly succumbing to asphyxiation. Put simply, this was nothing more than a tragic accident. Now, given this conclusion, Harley's case should have ended there. However, some people, especially his YouTube viewers, weren't satisfied with the official report. Many of them believed that this wasn't an accident at all. Rumors started going around the internet that Harley's death was actually a murder committed by his own family. One of the first big points of contention was his jacket, since in one of the evidence images it could be seen hanging from the door. These critics claimed that this was proof of the whole story being a lie.
Wait, okay, so this is the hole to the chimney, right? So he was like right here in the wall. He climbed down the chimney all the way down, then was just right here. He was too hot in there or whatever, so he tried to take his jacket off and he pushed it through the hole. How would it have gotten on this door? Somebody had to have been there with him and hung his...
Some also argued that the shoes he was wearing in his last picture didn't match the ones the investigators found on him. However, despite the skepticism, the police stuck with their initial report. As for the jacket issue, that turned out to be nothing more than the result of one of the inexperienced investigators mistakenly moving key evidence. That said, whatever the truth may be, it doesn't change the fact that the YouTube community lost a genuine and passionate creator.
That is so nuts. This kid didn't want to go to school because he had a lot of family issues and stuff, so he went across the street to the house. He couldn't get into the house, and he was scared like his parents were going to see him on the porch, so he climbs the roof. And he's like, oh snap, I'm going to go down the chimney and then get into the house. He goes in the chimney and he realizes that it's not like a fireplace where like most chimneys goes down and then into the living room. And it's like, oh nice, you got to crawl out. But that was a chimney where it was just, oh no. No.
Nicholas Sonderegger was a 28-year-old YouTuber who loved two things in life, longboarding and dancing. He uploaded nearly 80 videos of himself doing both of these on his channel named Sunspeak. Though his ultimate dream was to become a professional dancer. By 2017, he was living in San Diego with his friend Austin to try and make his dream come true. However, the two were completely broke and couldn't afford California's high rent prices. So, with no other option, the two decided to live in tents or random trailers they could find in the Salton Sea area.
What?
Salton Sea used to be a popular tourist destination at one point due to its status as an oasis in the middle of the desert. But the water and the surrounding area became extremely toxic over time, turning it into a complete ghost town.
That's crazy.
On the flip side, this also made living there essentially free, which is what Nick and Austin were after. But what neither of them knew at the time was that the true danger of Salton Sea had nothing to do with its toxic climate. This danger came face to face with the two on the night of September 9th, 2018 at around 2 a.m. They were asleep in their tent when suddenly they were jolted awake by an extremely loud scream coming from the tree line not far from their camp. Fearing for their safety, they decided to just ignore it altogether and go back to sleep. Or that's at least what Austin thought. For some unknown reason, Nick later decided to go investigate the scream on his own after Austin had fallen back asleep. By the time Austin woke up the next morning, Nick was gone.
Oh my god.
He tried looking around for his longtime friend around town and discovered his flashlight lying on the ground just a block away from their tent.
He's dead.
He immediately contacted the police and reported Nick as missing, who began looking for him almost immediately. But all they found was one of his boots, his pants, and his knife sleeve. His other boot, as well as his wallet and keys, were missing. More importantly, Nick himself was nowhere to be found. What made the situation even more bizarre was what happened days later. Austin returned to the same area he had already searched, but this time he found Nick's shirt and hat lying there, items that weren't there before.
What?
In other words, someone had likely placed them in that spot later.
Put that stuff
Sadly,
there.
the identity of this person was never uncovered, leaving Nick's case a complete mystery to this day.
What?
Nick's family has set up a website with all the information they have. They've also announced a $10,000 reward for any useful information. But
wait, so he's never been found? Wait, let me get this straight. So there was two guys living in like a ghost town. This was a popular town before, but then it all shut down because like, I don't know, people started moving out. So they started living in these abandoned buildings and stuff. It was pretty much free because if there's nobody living there, then like you can just live there, whatever. So they lived there. And then one night they hear like a scream outside. So they're like, what the hell? So they both go look and they're like, okay, we're not going to look at that. That's creepy. So they go back inside and sleep. But then Nick, this guy right here, wakes up and decides to go investigate, even though his friend and him just agreed not to. Then his friend goes to sleep, Nick goes to explore, and is never seen again.
Despite these efforts, the case has remained cold. In fact, there are so few clues that I wasn't even able to find any solid theories either. Some have speculated that Austin might have killed Nick and hidden his body. Wow. However, the police investigation uncovered no evidence of foul play. There's still a chance that some unexpected discovery would crack this case wide open. But until then, Nick's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery, and his YouTube channel remains abandoned.
Dude, that's crazy, bro. What's up, dummies? Today we have a banger video to react to. It's the youngest serial killers in history, bro. We're gonna find out some of the youngest kids ever who ended up being serial killers, who ended up doing some crazy things. I didn't know kids could actually kill people. This is gonna be insane. Try not to get scared. Let's go. Yeah, there's a warning. Like, this is all GTA 6. It's not real, YouTube. Let's go.
Amarjit Sada, age
Amarjit Sada? No way. This is the first. Oh my gosh.
7. In 2007, a village in Bihar, India, was shaken by a discovery that would make global headlines. 8-year-old Amarjit Sada was arrested by police for the murder of 3 infants.
What?
He became known as the world's youngest serial killer, a title that still haunts criminal psychology to this day. Amarjit Sada was born in 1998 in the village of Mushahar, one of Bihar's most impoverished areas.
Okay, I gotta figure out why this kid did that. So he grew up in a very poverty type area where they didn't have a lot of food, didn't have a lot of water, didn't have a lot of money. But why would that make him want to like kill 3 infants?
His parents were daily laborers who struggled to feed their large family. Poverty was extreme. Opportunities were non-existent. Life was a daily fight for survival. In 2006, when Amarjit was just 7 years old, his aunt came to visit, leaving her infant daughter in the family's care.
Bad idea!
While she went to work in the city. While Amarjit's mother went to the market, she left young Amarjit to watch his baby cousin and his younger sister. What happened next was unthinkable. According to reports, Amarjit harmed the baby, eventually causing her death. He concealed the body in tall grass near the home. When his aunt returned and discovered what happened, the family was devastated. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn.
Bro, don't tell me this Amarjit Sada this kid's acting like he didn't do it.
They didn't report it to authorities. In their community, such matters brought shame and could lead to social and economic ruin. The death was covered up, attributed to illness or accident. Months later, Amarjit's own infant sister died under similar circumstances while the family slept. Again, there were suspicions, but the family remained silent. Some members reportedly knew or suspected what Amarjit had done, but these were considered family matters. The cycle of silence continued. It wasn't until
Send that boy to jail!
2007 that the outside world learned the truth. A 6-month-old baby named Kushbu disappeared from a local primary school. The community searched frantically.
No way Amarjit Sada stole a kid from a school. He's a 7-year-old
When
kid.
police investigated, witnesses reported seeing young Amarjit near the school. Under questioning, the 8-year-old confessed, not just to Kushbu's death, but to the earlier incidents involving his cousin and sister. Psychologists who evaluated Amarjit described him as showing no understanding of right and wrong. One called him someone who derived satisfaction from causing harm.
Wow, bro, he didn't know right from wrong. His parents didn't really instill in him what is like real and what's good and what's bad and what's fake, you know, what's evil. Oh my gosh.
Others noted he appeared to lack empathy entirely. The International Journal of Indian Psychology published analysis suggesting severe neglect and possible mental illness.
I mean, when you grow up in a place where you have no food, no water, you have to struggle every single day, you have to search for your food, search for water, you're gonna be in that survival mindset. So maybe he thought these little kids were gonna steal all of his water and food, you know? Wow, I feel bad for this kid.
In 2016, when he turned 18, he was released. His
Huh?
current whereabouts are unknown. He was given a new identity and released back into society.
What? Okay, so when he was 18, he got released from prison. I guess it makes sense because, like, he was so young, he didn't understand, but they gave him a new identity. They shaved his head. They gave him a mohawk, apparently. They gave him a new name. I guess that's cool, but wow, what?
The terrifying reality is that no one knows where Amarjit Sada is today. He's in his mid-20s now, living somewhere under a new name.
Bro, what if it was me? Wait, that doesn't make sense because I didn't
Whether
do
he
that.
was
Okay,
rehabilitated during his 10 years in the facility remains unclear.
He could
This
still
case
be
raised
doing it.
urgent questions about how to handle children who commit violent acts and whether an 8-year-old can truly be reformed. Jesse
All right, here's the
Pomeroy,
next one.
age
Jesse Pomeroy.
12 to 14, December 1874.
Damn! How do they know what happened in 1874? That was like Red Dead Redemption 2.
A Boston courtroom fell silent as a 14-year-old boy stood before the judge. Jesse Pomeroy had just been convicted of murder, becoming the youngest person in Massachusetts history to face a first-degree murder charge.
14 is really young.
The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled every seat. The entire nation was watching.
Really?
Because this case forced America to confront an uncomfortable question. Can a child be evil? Jesse Pomeroy was born in 1859 in Charlestown, Massachusetts.
Let's see what happened in his childhood to cause him to become evil. Because I think kids truly are never evil. They are always, you know, so wholesome. But then that they get like, they sense information and feelings from their parents and the people they're around, and they take in. Because kids are like sponges. Kids are like magnets. Whatever's around them, they're gonna suck in. You know what I mean? So let's see what happened to his family.
From birth, he
or
was
something.
different. A medical condition left his right eye covered with a white film, giving him an unsettling appearance.
That looks cool. One eye white and one eye
Other
normal?
children mocked him relentlessly. His father, a butcher, was harsh and distant. School became a nightmare of isolation. By age 12, something had changed in Jesse. Between 1871 and 1872,
Bro, they had school back in the 1800s?
young boys in the Chelsea and South Boston areas began reporting attacks by an older boy. They described being lured to isolated locations with promises of money or adventure. Once alone, they were restrained and harmed.
Wow, this Jesse kid would bait kids into going in the woods. He would say, "Oh, there's a leprechaun and a golden ticket out here,"
Attacks
or whatever.
escalated in severity. 7 different boys came forward with similar stories. What disturbed investigators was the pattern. Each attack showed calculation and planning. This wasn't impulsive childhood aggression. It was something else entirely.
Right.
Police eventually identified 12-year-old Jesse Pomeroy as the attacker.
So he was only 12 when he did it? He wasn't even 14. That's even worse. 12 is like once you start to become like an actual kid. You know, when you're like 10 or 11, you're like, eh. But when you're 12, like you're about to go into like middle school, bro.
He confessed readily, showing little emotion. The court sentenced him to a reform school until he turned 18. It seemed like the story
What
was
happened?
over. But Jesse's mother believed her son deserved a second chance. She lobbied for his early release, and in February 1874,
I have a feeling this is a bad idea. His mom was like, please let him out. Please let him out. I feel like he's going to kill his mom.
after serving just
Why do I
17
think
months, Jesse was freed. 6 weeks later, 2 children went missing. In March, 10-year-old Katie Curran vanished after visiting the Pomeroy family's shop.
Oh, come on.
In April, another young child was found deceased. The violence was extreme.
Bro, it's this kid.
Investigators immediately suspected Jesse. When police searched the Pomeroy shop months later, they found Katie Curran's body hidden in the basement. Jesse was arrested and confessed to both deaths. He was 14 years old. The trial became a national sensation. Experts debated whether a child could truly understand the consequences of taking a life. Jesse's lawyers argued he suffered from what was then called moral insanity, an irresistible compulsion he couldn't control. The prosecution painted him as fully aware and calculating. The jury found him guilty. The judge sentenced him to death. At 14, Jesse Pomeroy was the youngest person in Massachusetts to receive a death sentence, but he would never be executed. The governor commuted his sentence to life in prison, where Jesse would spend 41 years in solitary confinement, one of the longest periods.
41 years in solitary confinement? Do y'all know what solitary confinement is? This is what it would look like, bro. You'd be in like a box. Like it'd be like this. This is what it would be like. Kind of like this. A completely dark room. No windows, no anything. Like these are your normal like prison rooms or whatever. This kid was sent into this dark room with no talking, no nothing for 41 years. Oh my gosh.
Mary Bell aged 10 to 11.
Wait, what? A 10-year-old girl was a serial killer? What? This is crazy. Oh, this is going to be a fire
May
video.
25th, 1968.
1968.
Newcastle upon Tyne, England. A 4-year-old boy named Martin Brown was found deceased in an abandoned house. The
What?
initial investigation suggested a tragic accident. There were no obvious signs of foul play. The case might have closed there, if not for what happened next. The day after Martin's discovery, someone broke into a nearby nursery school and vandalized it. Among the destruction, police found notes scrawled in crayon. One read, "We did murder Martin Brown." Investigators dismissed it as a sick joke, children playing pranks. But it wasn't a prank. Mary Bell was born in 1957 to a 16-year-old mother who worked in difficult circumstances.
Okay, so her mom was 16 years old. Okay, that's so weird.
From the beginning, Mary's life was marked by severe neglect and concerning treatment.
Okay, yeah, if you're 16, you are not ready to have a child. I don't even think if you're under like 20 years old, you're ready to have a child. You're not fully developed. I think you should have a kid once you're like 25. I think that's like a good age because you finally kind of understand
Was
life.
frequently absent, leaving Mary in dangerous situations. There were reports of harm that no child should ever endure. By age 10, Mary had become withdrawn, manipulative, and prone to violent outbursts. On May 25th, the day
How can a little girl be violent? Like, okay, I thought little boys being violent was kind of weird, but a little girl?
before her 11th birthday, Mary caused
Before her 11th birthday? Oh,
Martin Brown's death in that abandoned house. She was so small herself that investigators couldn't initially determine what had happened. It appeared to be an accident or sudden illness. 2 months later, on July 31st, 3-year-old Brian Howe disappeared while playing outside his home.
can you imagine getting killed by like a 3-foot-tall 10-year-old girl?
His body was found that evening. This time, the evidence was clear. Someone had harmed him deliberately. Police began interviewing local children. 2 girls kept appearing in the investigation, Mary Bell and her friend Norma Bell,
Oh my God, they're both the same name, the last name. So maybe they were cousins?
who, despite sharing a last name, were not related.
Okay.
Both girls acted strangely during questioning. Norma seemed excited about the investigation. Mary was evasive and showed odd emotional responses. Eventually, Norma told police that Mary had confessed to her about Brian. When confronted, Mary denied everything, but the evidence was building. In December 1968, both girls stood trial. Mary Bell was 11 years old. The courtroom struggled with how to handle a child defendant accused of such serious crimes.
Right.
The prosecution had to prove that Mary understood the wrongfulness of her actions. The defense argued she was too young to form criminal intent and had suffered such severe mistreatment that her mental state was compromised.
I mean, that's very true. Like, her mom was 16 years old doing some weird work. Like, she was never home. Her mom was still going to school, bro. Like, come on,
After
bro.
deliberation, the jury found Mary guilty of manslaughter due to diminished responsibility, not murder. Norma was acquitted. Mary was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, essentially an indefinite sentence. She was sent to a secure facility for young offenders. Mary served 12 years before being released at age 23.
What? Bro, she got released. I bet she came back out and killed another.
She was given a new identity and lifelong anonymity to allow her a chance at rehabilitation. That anonymity has been extended to protect her daughter and granddaughter. What makes Mary's case particularly significant is what it revealed about childhood trauma.
Wow. So they gave her a new freaking... Wow, they gave her a new identity and her daughter's
Gita
identity.
Sereni, a journalist who extensively studied the case, found that Mary had been subjected to horrific mistreatment throughout her childhood. She wasn't born violent. She
Right.
was shaped by circumstances no child should face.
Yeah, nobody's born violent.
Mary Bell's case forced Britain to examine how it treats both child offenders and child victims of mistreatment. Today, Mary Bell lives anonymously somewhere in Britain. According to
Wow,
those who've
bro.
spoken with her, she doesn't claim to be wrongly convicted and acknowledges that her traumatic childhood doesn't excuse her actions.
Wow.
Robert Thompson and John Venables.
What? 2 of these kids, bro. These look like kids I just saw at Walmart the other day, bro. What? These kids aren't even like 6 inches tall.
Age 10. February 12th, 1993. Bootle, England. 2-year-old James Bulger was shopping with his mother at the New Strand shopping center when he disappeared. Security cameras captured haunting footage, 2 older boys leading the toddler away by the hand. The boys were Robert Thompson and John Venables. They were both 10 years old. What followed was one of the most shocking crimes in British history.
No way.
The 2 boys led James on a 2.5-mile walk through Liverpool. Dozens of people saw them. Some even asked if the toddler was okay. The boys told them he was their brother, or that they were taking him to the police station. No one intervened. They eventually brought James to a railway line in Walton.
Uh-uh.
There, away from witnesses, they attacked him. The violence was extreme and prolonged. They left his body on the tracks. 2 days later, James's remains were discovered. The nation was horrified. Police reviewed CCTV footage and released images of the two boys. Anonymous tips led them to Robert Thompson and John Venables, both of whom had been absent from school that day. During questioning, both boys initially denied involvement. Eventually, under pressure and with evidence mounting, they began admitting to parts of what happened, though each blamed the other for the worst of it. The backgrounds of both boys revealed troubled homes. Robert Thompson came from a family where violence was common. He'd witnessed and experienced severe mistreatment from a young age. John Venables also had a difficult upbringing, though different in nature. Both boys had shown behavioral problems at school. In November 1993, Thompson and Venables stood trial. Because of the severity of the crime, they were tried in an adult court.
Wow, they're only 10 and they're getting tried as adults.
Though accommodations were made for their age. The trial was extraordinarily difficult. The judge, jury, and public struggled with the reality that 10-year-old children had committed such an act. Both were found guilty and sentenced to detention at Her Majesty's pleasure. The judge called it an act of unparalleled evil and barbarity.
Whatever
but determining
that means.
how long they should serve proved controversial.
I would honestly give them 10 years in prison and then see if they completely have changed.
The original recommendation was 8 years, later increased to 10, which meant
I just said that.
they'd be released as teenagers. Public outrage was intense. James Bulger's family was devastated, feeling that justice hadn't been served. But in 2001, when both boys reached age 18, they were released with new identities and lifelong anonymity orders to protect them from vigilante violence. Since then, their paths have diverged. Robert Thompson has reportedly not reoffended and has lived quietly under his new identity. John Venables, however, has been recalled to prison twice, both times for offenses related to inappropriate images of children. His repeated offenses have reignited debates about whether he should have been released in the first place. The James Bulger case remains one of the most analyzed and debated cases in British legal history. Craig Price.
Okay, he does not look young at all. What is this? I thought this was the youngest serial killer. This guy looks like he eats a lot of cereal.
15. September 5th, 1989. Warwick, Rhode Island. Police responded to a disturbing scene at a family home. Inside, they found 3 victims. The violence was extreme and shocking. The community was terrified. A dangerous killer was on the loose. What police didn't initially realize was that the killer lived just a few houses away, and he was 15 years old. Craig Price was born in 1973 and grew up in the Buttonwoods neighborhood of Warwick.
Bro, that looks so nice, bro. Hold on. Bro, look at this nice area. This is Buttonwoods in Rhode Island or something, bro. All these other kids, they had horrible upbringing. You know, somebody gave birth to this girl at 16 years old and they were poor. This is the nicest
neighborhood of Warwick.
Bro, look, it's on the water. Okay, we got to figure out why this guy was killing.
To his neighbors, he seemed like a normal kid. Athletic, involved in sports, generally friendly. He was known as Iron Man because of his size and strength. His teachers described him as bright. But beneath that normal exterior, something was deeply wrong. On July 27, 1987, when Craig was just 13 years old, he committed his first act of violence.
Oh my gosh.
His victim was Rebecca Spencer, a 27-year-old mother who lived 2 houses away from the Price family. Craig broke into her home and attacked her. The crime was brutal and appeared motiveless. Police had no suspects. The case went cold. For 2 years, nothing happened. Craig went to school, played sports, and lived what appeared to be a normal teenage life. Then, on September 1st, 1989, he struck again. This time, his victims were the Heaton family, Joan and her 2 young daughters. Craig later admitted he was under the influence of substances when he broke into their home that night. The breakthrough came 4 days later. Police noticed that Craig had an injury on his hand, which he claimed was from an unrelated accident. A search of his home revealed concerning evidence. Under questioning, Craig confessed, not just to the Heaton family attacks, but to Rebecca Spencer's death 2 years earlier. His confession was chilling in its lack of remorse. When asked why he did it, he couldn't provide a clear answer. Craig Price was arrested just weeks before his 16th birthday.
That's sad, bro. He was about to get his driver's license. He was probably going to be, you know, the cool guy on the basketball team driving his homies around. Yep,
this presented a massive legal problem. Under Rhode Island law at the time, juveniles could not be tried as adults, regardless of how serious their crime.
He killed 4 people, bro.
This meant Craig could only be held until age 21. Despite killing 4 people, he would serve a maximum of 6 years. The community was outraged. How could someone who'd committed such violent acts be released after just a few years? Citizens formed groups to lobby for legal changes. The case attracted national attention. Even President Bill Clinton weighed in, advocating for reforms to juvenile justice laws. Rhode Island passed new legislation allowing juveniles to be tried as adults for serious crimes. But these changes couldn't be applied retroactively to Craig Price. He'd beaten the system, or so it seemed. While incarcerated, Craig's behavior ensured he wouldn't be released at 21. He repeatedly got into fights, assaulted corrections officers, and violated institutional rules.
So there's just something wrong with this kid.
Each infraction resulted in additional charges and extended sentences. In 2004, he was transferred to Florida's prison system, where he continued his pattern of violence. In 2017, Craig Price was charged with attacking another inmate. He pleaded guilty and received an additional 25-year sentence.
Damn!
Now in his early 50s, Craig Price remains behind bars and likely will for the rest of his life.
Wow.
Psychologists who've studied Craig's case point to several factors. He experienced significant challenges growing up. He witnessed violence at home. He had untreated behavioral issues from a young age. But experts...
That's hilarious, bro. This kid's in a basketball game.
He had
He
untreated
shoots it, the guy takes the ball,
issues from
then
a
he
young
starts
age.
choking him.
Jasmine Richardson,
Jasmine Richardson. This is another girl. I didn't think girls were
age
killer.
12, April 23rd,
12-year-old girl?
2006. Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada.
Bro, there's a place in Canada called Medicine Hat. Who the hell would want to live in a place called Medicine?
Police responded to a disturbing call about bodies discovered in a residential home. When they arrived, they found 3 victims, Mark Richardson, his wife Deborah, and their 8-year-old son Jacob. The violence was shocking, but what made this case even more disturbing was who was missing: the family's 12-year-old daughter Jasmine. At first, police feared Jasmine had been taken or harmed as well, but as they investigated, a different picture emerged. In Jasmine's school locker, they found a drawing, stick figures of a family inside a burning house, and a girl running to a truck. Evidence on her computer revealed dark conversations with an older man named Jeremy Steinke.
Oh my God, don't tell me the older man was like telling her to do this stuff. Oh.
Within 24 hours, police located Jasmine and Jeremy in Saskatchewan. They were arrested together. Under interrogation, the truth came out. Jasmine and Jeremy had planned and executed the attack together. Jasmine Richardson had been a typical preteen until about age 11, when she became interested in goth subculture. She dressed in black, wore heavy makeup, and spent hours online in forums dedicated to dark themes. Her parents, Mark and Deborah, initially thought it was just a phase. But when the 12-year-old...
I mean, honestly, if I have a daughter one day, and she's 11 years old, and she's like going through a little goth phase where she's just like wearing all black and she's like depressed, I'm getting her out of that phase.
Began a relationship with 23-year-old Jeremy Steinke.
23 and 12? Wait.
But when the 12-year-old began a relationship with 23-year-old
23 and 12? That's 11 years.
Jeremy Steinke, they became...
Jeremy Stinky? His last name's Stinky. That's funny.
Jeremy claimed to be a 300-year-old werewolf. He wore a vial of what he said was blood around his neck. He was immersed in fantasy and had his own troubled background, including an unstable childhood and possible developmental issues. When Jasmine...
What do you mean he possibly has development? He's got issues.
Parents discovered messages between their daughter and Jeremy discussing violent themes, they forbade her from seeing him. They took away her computer.
Why would they? Why did they stop her from seeing him once they found out that they were talking violently? Why didn't they stop her from seeing him when they realized he was freaking 11 years older than her?
They grounded her. But Jasmine found ways to communicate with Jeremy anyway, and her resentment toward her parents grew. In online conversations, Jasmine began expressing a desire to be free of her parents. Jeremy encouraged these thoughts. Together, they began discussing a plan. On April 22nd, the night before the attacks, they watched the movie Natural Born Killers, about a couple who go on a violent spree after the boyfriend eliminates the girlfriend's parents. The next night, Jeremy entered the Richardson home through a basement window. Witnesses later testified that Jeremy was responsible for the attacks on Jasmine's parents, while Jasmine was in her brother's room. The details of what happened to 8-year-old Jacob remain disputed, with each defendant blaming the other. After fleeing the scene, Jasmine and Jeremy were found the next day. Both were charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The trial raised complex questions. Jasmine was 12 years old when the crimes occurred, making her the youngest person in Canadian history to be convicted of multiple counts of murder. Could someone so young truly understand the permanence and horror of what she'd done? Was she manipulated by an older partner? Or was she an active participant? The court found Jasmine guilty on all 3 counts.
Wow.
Because of her age, she received the maximum sentence allowed under Canada's Youth Criminal Justice Act, 10 years, with 4 years in a psychiatric facility followed by community supervision. Jeremy Steinke was convicted as an adult and received 3 life sentences.
Damn, 3!
In 2016, after completing her 10-year sentence, Jasmine Richardson was released. She's now in her early 30s, living under a new identity somewhere in Canada. Canadian law protects her privacy, and her records were sealed after she served her time without reoffending. Her release was controversial. James's family believed she deserved a longer sentence. Others pointed to her young age at the time of the crimes and argued that rehabilitation should be possible for children.
I mean, bro, she got released from prison, but her mom, dad, and her little brother were dead. Like, she's got no family. What the? This is crazy. I didn't know they, like, if somebody, like, murdered at a young age, they would change their identity. They would change their name, like, everything. They would give them a haircut. That's actually crazy. These little kids are crazy, bro. What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to 4 missing people who were found alive on videos. So I've reacted to a ton of videos on my channel about, like, missing people or YouTubers that went missing and stuff. But every time we react to one of those videos, it's always a sad ending. We always have bad endings. But today we're gonna have a good ending because these are 4 people who were missing that were found alive on video. Let's check this out. This is gonna be insane.
A woman named Malie Perales was driving down the Packer Drive Northeast Road alongside the Rogue River in Belmont, Michigan. She and her 2 roommates were on their way back after a night out, and they were all in a cheerful mood. However, their smiles quickly vanished as they stumbled onto a horrifying scene. At around 2:30 a.m., while driving near the Rogue Hollow Court, one of the passengers spotted a strange figure lurking by the side of the road. This encounter was extremely terrifying, but it also sparked the group's curiosity. And after some deliberation, they decided to turn around, and this is what they then came across.
Oh God.
Stop.
What the? What the?
No. Hell no. What the?
Bro,
Oh.
bro, what would y'all do?
They saw what looked like a young woman drenched from head to toe as if she had just crawled out of the nearby river. She also looked like she was crying, banging her head on the road and waving for help.
Dude, what would y'all do if you're driving in the middle of the night in a forest and you see somebody who's drenched in water begging you for help? Would you stop or not, bro? Oh my God, dude, that might be like, I might think it's like a setup, like someone's trying to set me up, but let's see what happens.
Posted the video of this encounter on TikTok and it instantly went viral, leading people to come up with all sorts of far-fetched theories about ghosts, spirits, etc. However, as wild as the theories got, Malie later posted several videos shutting them down and revealing what really happened. According to her, they kept circling back and driving past the disturbed woman several times after recording the first video to make sure she was okay. While none of them had the nerve to get out of the car and approach her, they did call the cops and waited nearby until help arrived.
Good.
The woman was then taken to a nearby hospital where she was treated for cold exposure. As it turns out, she somehow fell into the Rogue River from the east side and swam across it onto the road.
Late night drive turns super spooky.
She had to have come up out of the water. Yep, there's a dig spot there. So she came up from down there. That's had to have been why she was so wet.
So this girl fell into the river. Apparently she was a missing person. I guess we'll figure out more about her and who she is.
What was going on?
After regaining some composure, she also revealed that the woman was from Kalamazoo, a town that's over 60 miles from where she was found.
The hell?
However, she had no recollection of how she got to Belmont and fell in a river so far away from home.
Dude, this girl had no memory.
She was most likely experiencing a severe mental break, where her memory gap was caused by a rare condition known as fugue state, something we covered in our previous video on the most disturbing mental disorders.
What?
For those who don't know, a fugue state is a rare condition where a person suddenly loses their memory and starts acting like someone else. They might wander off, travel long distances, or do things completely out of character without realizing anything is wrong.
What?
It's usually triggered by extreme stress or trauma, and once it's over, the person often has no memory of what happened.
This is creepy.
And while this condition is quite rare, all the signs suggest that's exactly what happened to this mysterious woman from Kalamazoo, especially since the authorities later found her car parked behind a random house just east of the river. She likely drove to that neighborhood on her own, but had zero memory of doing so, which fits perfectly with the known symptoms of fugue state.
This girl was in like a fugue state, whatever he's saying. So she drove an hour to a different town, parked in a random person's driveway, then walked to this river and jumped in. What? What? And she didn't even know what she was doing.
Malie also shared her video in a local Facebook group, hoping to find more answers about what went down. Unfortunately, the responses she received weren't as helpful as she'd hoped, since most people in the neighborhood believed the screaming and noises were just the sounds of a wild animal, like a coyote. But there were a few responses that deepened the mystery. Like this one person who remembered meeting her earlier that same night, stating, "Saw this person between Van Dam and Packer Woods around 10:15 p.m. Friday. Asked her if she needed help, to which she responded no." Another person also mentioned hearing about a woman walking into his neighbor's house, yelling hello 3 times and then leaving on her own. And while this added further evidence supporting the fugue state theory, these responses still left a key question unanswered. Who was she? Malie tried to contact both the police and the hospital for answers, but despite her insistence, both the police officers and the hospital staff refused to reveal her real name. That said, we still have enough information to make an educated guess. Based on everything I could uncover, the mysterious woman in this unsettling video was most likely Mei Zhou. She was a 28-year-old Chinese woman who went missing from Kalamazoo on May 6, 2021. Before her disappearance, she told her friends that she felt like she was being followed by a stalker she met online. Unfortunately, these are the only details about her case that were made public. I couldn't find any clear answers on whether the stalker was real or if she was just overwhelmed by paranoia. In either case, the constant fear and stress of feeling watched likely drove her to slip into some variation of the fugue state we discussed earlier. Hopefully she received the mental help she desperately needed and is now in a better mental state than she once was.
Wow, bro, that's insane. Here's
In
the next
June
one.
of 2024, streamer Lacey and his friend Clicks were doing an IRL live stream in Miami, Florida.
Okay.
The two were simply going around town and having fun. What they didn't realize was that this stream would end up saving someone's life. It happened a few hours into the stream when they sat down at the Starlight Hotel Cafe for lunch. As they waited to order, a guy walked up to their table wearing nothing but neon green shorts. Lacey and Clicks initially assumed he was just another fan eager to talk to his favorite streamers, a pretty typical scenario for popular IRL streamers. But something about this young man didn't sit right. He was trying to keep a conversation going, but his words were slurred and nothing he said really made sense.
Hey, are you sparring, bro? Are you sparring? Yo, you good, bro? Yo, what?
The streamers figured he was either drunk or on some kind of drugs. For content, they started poking fun at him a bit before shifting their focus back to their stream. But the guy continued to linger around, acting very odd and saying unintelligible sentences for the next half hour or so before finally leaving them for good. The streamers simply labeled it as an odd interaction from someone under the influence of something or another and continued on with their stream. Lacey later uploaded an edited down version of this stream on his YouTube channel. And that's when he got an email that made him realize the significance of what they had just caught on camera. 2 days after this video went up, Lacey received an email from a man named Trent claiming to be the brother of the guy seen in green shorts. It read, "Hello, my name is Trent Coleman, and my missing little brother from Michigan was on Clicks and Lacey's stream in Miami. He was wearing green shorts and they were making fun of him. He is not on drugs, he is schizophrenic, and he is 17 years old. If someone can contact me about this, I would be so thankful. He has been missing for 3 months, and his case was put on homicide in Michigan."
So this kid that was in their stream, I think they were in like Miami. This kid has been missing for 3 months and they thought that he got killed in Michigan. The police said that somebody killed him in Michigan because they haven't found him in 3 months, but he's in Miami in their stream just tweaking.
In most cases, emails like these are just trolls trying to mess with creators. However, after some research, Lacey discovered that Trent was actually telling the truth and posted this new development on Twitter stating, "3 months ago, a 17-year-old kid went missing and was put on homicide. Yesterday on stream, he came up to me and Clicks, and now his family knows he is alive and in Miami. I wasn't sure if I should make this public, but I'm hoping somehow this helps him be found for his family." In a reply to his tweet, Lacey also attached an article that provided additional details about the case. Apparently, the teenager's name was Troy Coleman, and he had been missing from his home in Michigan since May of 2024.
That's crazy.
According to the article, Troy was last seen in Mount Morris Township around 9:30 a.m. on May 17th. In the 3 months since his disappearance, he had somehow traveled from Michigan all the way to Miami with no medication, no money, and no clear explanation of how he got there. This was extremely concerning considering Troy's lack of vital medication for his schizophrenia was known to cause serious hallucinations. His sudden reappearance only deepened the mystery. With no leads and no logical explanation, Michigan police were left so baffled that they even began investigating his case as a potential homicide. So, the fact that Troy randomly appeared on Lacey and Clix's stream and his brother just so happened to be watching that stream was nothing short of a miracle.
That's crazy, dude. Imagine your brother went missing and you're like, what the hell? Like, my brother's missing. And then it's been 3 months and you're probably like, okay, somebody definitely killed my brother. Like, I'll never see him again, bro. And you're just watching a stream from your favorite streamer and you see your missing brother in Miami, even though you live in Michigan. He has no money, no food, no anything. How has he been surviving for 3 months? And how is he in Miami? I hope we get these details.
How the coincidences keep piling up, and what happened next made the whole situation even stranger. While Troy was still on stream, another young fan approached the two streamers and tried to strike up a conversation. However, before he could even introduce himself, Troy interrupted them again and started saying something to the younger fan. He was still talking incoherently, which made the streamers even more uncomfortable and confused about his intentions. During this time, he also gave the younger fan the styrofoam cup he was holding. The young boy quickly took a sip of whatever was in the cup and walked away. Lacey's cameraman noticed the exchange and immediately pointed it out to the streamer. By now, they were convinced that Troy was on drugs, and that raised a serious concern. Had he just given the kid something laced? Not wanting to ignore it, Lacey decided to confront Troy, asking him directly what was in the cup. But to their surprise, Troy's answer was a lot more coherent than expected. He simply stated that it was just a soft drink from Beacon Hotel.
What was in the drink? What was in that drink? In the drink? Yeah. You gave it to Lou. It was Coke from Beacon Hotel. Like Coca-Cola? Yeah. Making sure. You gave it to the kid. I gave it to a kid.
This coincidental interaction gave authorities the crucial lead they needed. Troy was, in fact, staying at the very hotel he had mentioned. From there, it didn't take long for investigators to track down Troy and reunite him with his family, who were overjoyed to have him back. In a later interview with People.com, Troy's father, Weston Coleman, shared even more heartbreaking details of what Troy went through. According to him, Troy actually wanted to visit Florida to find and meet celebrities. He did his research online and saved up as much money as he could before setting off. Troy made it to Atlanta by bus, but that's where things took a turn for the worst. During his stay in Atlanta, he was robbed of everything he had. Left with nothing, he traveled the rest of the way to Miami completely broke. Despite the hardship, his family was ultimately glad that he was still alive and well, with his father stating, "I'm just glad he's alive at this point and now can't believe we found him. We all feel a lot better and we thank everybody." From what I can find, Troy's been living with his family in Michigan ever since and has managed to stay out of any more trouble.
Dude, that is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. That is insane. He wanted to go to Florida, so he went on a trip. He didn't tell his family. Then when he got to Atlanta, he got robbed, so he didn't even have a phone or anything. And they robbed him of his medicine too. Like he brought his whole backpack with a bunch of medicine and stuff because he has schizophrenia. Then when they robbed him, they took his backpack, which had his medicine. And then because he wasn't taking his medicine, he was like disoriented, so he didn't go to the store. Like if you got robbed, you could easily go to the cops or go and call somebody on a payphone or ask someone to use their phone. Hey dad, can you come get me? But this guy got his medicine stolen too. So then he was like, oh my God, he didn't even know what was going on. That's crazy, bro. Shout out to the streamers.
In 2013, 40-year-old James DiMaggio invited family friend Christina Anderson and her two kids, 8-year-old Ethan and 16-year-old Hannah, over to his home in Boulevard, California. He claimed it was just a farewell visit before moving to Texas. And this wasn't anything unusual. James had been a close friend with both Christina and her husband Brett for quite some time and was like an uncle to the kids. And since Brett was away for a 3-month job in Tennessee, James helped the family regularly with things like driving Hannah to and from her gymnastics class. However, what seemed like an innocent invitation quickly turned into a horrifying nightmare. It started on August 4 when the children's grandparents called the police and reported the family as missing after not hearing from Christina all day. They also informed the police about the family's plan to visit James. However, when investigators reached James's home, it was already engulfed in flames. Firefighters rushed to the scene and suppressed the fire. Unfortunately, they were too late. Inside the burnt house, they discovered the bodies of Christina Anderson, her son Ethan, and even the family dog. And while this could have been nothing more than a tragic accident, the reality was far more cruel. Later autopsy discovered severe injuries on Christina. These included signs of plastic cable ties around her ankle and arms, duct tape marks around her neck and mouth, multiple fractures in her right arm and both legs, a cut on her neck, and signs of at least 12 heavy strikes to the head. Her 8-year-old son Ethan also had multiple fractures throughout his body. However, despite the horrific scene, there were no signs of James or Hannah anywhere near the house. It didn't take long for investigators to connect the dots and realize that James DiMaggio was the mastermind behind this horrific crime. It also became clear that he had orchestrated the murders not just out of violence, but with the intent to kidnap Hannah. His actions were calculated and driven by some twisted obsession as he took her from everything she had in her life. After learning about this, the police quickly issued a statewide Amber Alert in hopes of getting any information regarding James and missing Hannah's whereabouts. In the meantime, investigators also discovered security footage of James passing through the Border Patrol checkpoint in Pine Valley at around 10 p.m. This also prompted them to launch a massive manhunt spanning the entire Pacific coast from British Columbia to Baja California.
Wow.
However, despite the massive effort and the hundreds of man-hours put into the search, the manhunt turned up empty. Every lead seemed to result in a dead end, and the odds of successfully rescuing Hannah started to dwindle with every passing day. Things looked bleak. That is, until 3 days later when 2 horseback riders spotted a man and a girl while trekking through the remote wilderness of Cascade, Idaho. They had seen the broadcast of Hannah's disappearance on TV and instantly recognized the young girl and her captor. They reported the sighting to authorities, who instantly began investigating the area, and soon after they found James's car with its plates removed to avoid detection. However, it still took them 3 more days to track down the campsite James was hiding in. The FBI had set up a jet with a sophisticated long-range camera recording from thousands of feet above, which is what you're seeing now.
Wow.
This footage confirmed they had found the missing Hannah. On the 10th of August, the FBI took it upon itself to rescue Hannah and mobilized a tactical team for the mission. They kept eyes on James for some time, looking for the right moment to attack. However, he was sticking close to Hannah, which made it near impossible for the rescue team to make their move. Fortunately, after some time, James moved away to gather some firewood. And while he was completely oblivious, Hannah actually spotted a rescue helicopter and started waving for help.
That's awesome.
This was the perfect opportunity, and the FBI didn't let it go to waste. They quickly moved in and carried Hannah to safety. After noticing the rescue mission, James took out one of the guns he had with him and fired at an officer. The rescue team then returned fire, resulting in him getting shot 6 times in the head, arms, and upper torso. Hannah was finally safe. And while this was one of the most terrifying experiences a teenage girl can have, Hannah's managed to completely bounce back. She is now 27 years old and is happily living with her husband and 1-year-old son in Vancouver, Canada.
That's sick. That's actually fire. Dude, so she got captured. He took her to the woods. What a weirdo. I wonder if he, I'm not even going to say that, but what if he did weird stuff, bro? Oh, man.
On the 27th of May, 2013, at around 4 p.m., 73-year-old Robert McDonough disappeared from his home in Portland, Maine. Now, an elderly person going missing is extremely stressful on its own. However, what made Robert's situation even more dire was the fact that he was also suffering from dementia. For those who don't know, dementia is a mental condition which makes it difficult to remember things, think clearly, or even recognize familiar faces. People with dementia can forget everything from their own names to the faces of loved ones, leaving them confused about where they are or how they got there. This can also extend to forgetting where they live. For someone with dementia, wandering outside can quickly turn from a harmless mistake to a life-threatening situation. A person with memory loss isn't just lost in terms of direction, they're lost in terms of identity and awareness. They forget how to care for themselves, how to recognize danger, and how to make decisions in an increasingly hostile world. These conditions could prove to be lethal for a healthy young adult, and the danger is increased tenfold for a frail elderly man trying to navigate a world that no longer makes sense to him. He could have easily wandered into traffic or tripped and fallen in a remote area, and no one would have known. Put simply, Robert's life was in extreme danger. This is also why the authorities moved quickly after receiving the missing report and began searching every corner of the city within hours of his disappearance.
Search and rescue teams spent more than 14 hours searching an area of Leamington after 73-year-old Robert McDonough, who has dementia, disappeared Monday afternoon. Around 6 a.m., search teams were briefed and started to intensify their effort.
It was going into the second operational period, which means we're starting to ramp up, using a lot of GPS technology. Well, again, we'd have our pilots, we'd have ATVs, canines.
However, they were having a hard time figuring out where Robert could have gone. When someone with dementia goes missing, searching for them is not like searching for someone who's just wandered off.
True.
In most cases, they don't even realize they're lost at all. They might walk aimlessly or even retrace the same steps without ever reaching familiar ground. Their confusion can send them in any direction, far from where they should be.
Right.
But then, about 14 hours into the search, something happened that no one saw coming. On May 28 at 6:30 a.m., a reporter from Portland's local network was recording a section about the disappearance of Robert on the street, when, out of nowhere, an old man walked into the frame.
It's him. He doesn't even realize that He's
At
missing.
first, the reporter brushed him off as just another bystander. But after a few moments, he suddenly realized who the elderly man was. This was Robert McDonough, or Bob as he went by, the man everyone was looking for.
Anybody give a phone call? I'm calling the warden service there at the department. This is Bob. This is you identify him as Bob McDonough?
I think so. It's Bob McDonough. Yeah. He looks a lot like a
Watch
guy.
yourself.
Yeah.
Watch yourself.
Yeah. That's Bob McDonough.
Fortunately, he was completely unharmed, despite being out in the cold all night. Upon realizing his identity, the news crew immediately contacted the authorities.
What the hell was he
And
doing?
it wasn't long before Robert was reunited with his family. But here's the thing. Robert returning like this was nothing more than a stroke of good luck. While his story had a somewhat happy ending, it could have just as easily turned into an irreparable loss.
Dude, that is so weird. They're like making a TV news story like, yeah, this old guy has been lost for 12 hours in the cold winter. Like, where is he? And then he's just walking down the street behind him. He doesn't even know. He's just like, hey. Dude, he didn't even know he was... That is sick. What's up, dummy? So a couple of days ago, I made a video reacting to some YouTubers that completely disappeared off the face of the earth. But today, we're going to be reacting to YouTubers that became murderers. This video is going to be insane. We're going to find out about YouTubers who were literally normal, and then one day they killed somebody. Oh my God, this is going to be insane. Try not to get scared. Try not to pee yourself. Let's go.
Suzanne Eaton was a 59-year-old American scientist who was working as a professor of molecular biology in Dresden, Germany. A big part of her job at this institute was to travel around the world and hold conferences on the latest developments in her field. In July of 2019, she traveled to the scenic Greek island of Crete for one of these conferences,
confusing to
not
me.
knowing that this was going to be her last, and that the person responsible for her end would be cut because of his videos on YouTube.
What?
The incident happened on July 2nd, when, after a conference, Suzanne spent time with her peers and played the public piano in the venue's lobby.
Wait, is this girl like a teacher? She's literally a teacher at like a college, and then a YouTuber killed. What? Okay, we gotta figure out what happened here.
We're saying her goodbyes and heading out to her hotel in the afternoon. Sadly, this was the last time anyone saw Suzanne alive. Her coworkers noticed her absence when she didn't show up for the second conference scheduled for 6 p.m. that evening. It wasn't like her to skip events out of the blue. Something wasn't right. A fact that became increasingly clear when over 24 hours passed without anyone hearing from her. So, on July 3rd, her colleagues called the police to check on her, hoping she was simply sick or something similar. However, when officers arrived at her hotel room, no one answered the door. They acquired a spare key from the hotel management and went inside, only to find the room completely empty and undisturbed. All of Suzanne's belongings were also still in the room. The only things missing were her running shoes and a set of exercise clothes. Those who knew her immediately understood what this meant. You see, in addition to her academic prowess and piano expertise, Suzanne was also an athlete at heart. She was a double black belt in Taekwondo and
a double black belt in Taekwondo? That means this old lady could really chop some kill some.
Her age loved going on a run every day. Knowing this helped investigators narrow down what might have happened to her. Put simply, she likely went on a run soon after returning to her hotel on July 2nd, and something went wrong after that. She wasn't super familiar with the area, and to make matters worse, the weather was uncomfortably hot that afternoon.
Oh yeah, he did say that she went on vacation to go teach some stuff in like Greece or Italy or something. Like this is kind of like in Italy. So she was on vacation. So she went out to go work out, do a little run, but she might have gotten lost. But let's see how the YouTuber aspect comes into this. Did a YouTuber like live stream him kidnapping her or something? This is gonna be crazy.
There was a strong possibility she collapsed from the heat or something else along those lines. After putting this together, the Crete police immediately dispatched a search and rescue team in the area surrounding her hotel and around popular running trails. Her family even traveled to Crete and put a €50,000 reward for anyone who could help find Suzanne.
$50,000 bucks?
Unfortunately, Suzanne was nowhere to be found. That is until 5 days later, on July 8th, when two young men were exploring one of the abandoned World War II Nazi bunkers scattered across Crete. Around 200 meters in, one of them noticed a piece of burlap covering something on the ground. They picked it up from one end to see what was underneath. And what they found was the aftermath of one of the most horrific crimes in Crete's recent history. The burlap was covering the bloody remains of Suzanne Eaton.
Oh man.
A later autopsy report discovered that Suzanne had several broken ribs, multiple fractures throughout her body, a missing ear, and much, much more.
A missing ear? Who did this? I gotta figure out who did this.
Whatever happened to her certainly was not
Mike Tyson!
The investigators began searching for clues, and fortunately it didn't take long for them to make their first major breakthrough. A set of car tire tracks leading up to the entrance of the bunker. Analyzing these tracks allowed investigators to find the car responsible for transporting Suzanne's remains to that bunker.
What? They analyzed the tire tracks in the mud and found which specific car it came from? They got crazy, dude. This literally goes to show, if you're gonna do something bad in your life, if you're gonna do some crimes and stuff, you're gonna get caught, bro. They know how to analyze tire tracks. They found the car. How do you do that? I don't understand.
Belonged to 27-year-old Giannis Paraskakis, a
Giannis
local sheep farmer.
Antetokounmpo.
But when questioned, Giannis feigned ignorance and claimed that him driving through that area on that day was nothing more than a coincidence. He went as far as to say that he didn't even know about the existence of that bunker, a lie that would eventually lead to his arrest. You see, Giannis had a dream to become a successful YouTuber. He started a channel with his own name in 2012 and began...
That's the worst channel ever. This boy looked like Timu Naruto. What is going on?
However, if you go to his channel today, all you'll find are 3 videos of him performing an ancient Chinese martial art and meditation technique called Qigong. That's because a couple days before Suzanne's body was discovered, Giannis deleted every other video on his channel. And once authorities recovered some of these deleted videos, it became clear why. You see—
Wait, after the girl got found and the police were like, dude, we think it was you, he deleted all of his YouTube videos. That's really suspicious. Let's see what they found.
Most of these deleted videos involved Giannis exploring abandoned World War II bunkers, including the one where Suzanne's remains were discovered.
His videos for him exploring these bunkers where she was found, and then he deleted them. That's, bro, you literally just snitched on yourself.
This contradiction gave the authorities the go-ahead to formally arrest him on July 15. It also allowed them to investigate him further, and the evidence they discovered was overwhelming. As it turned out, the land where this bunker was located was owned by Giannis's family. Investigators also found traces of Suzanne's blood in his car's trunk. When confronted with this evidence, Giannis cracked and told the whole story. According to him, he saw Suzanne running down the road and something came over him. He hit her with his car twice before putting her in his car, driving to the bunker, and ending her life there. He later changed his story to where he was compelled to commit this crime by a demon. Unfortunately for him, the jury didn't buy this one bit and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole in 2020.
Well, I guess his dream of becoming a YouTuber is kaput! Good job, bud!
Now, this should have been the end of Giannis' story, but from what I've seen, there's more to his actions than just this one crime he was convicted of. The thing is, Giannis presented his vile act as a crime of opportunity, something he did completely out of nowhere. However, there's evidence to suggest that Giannis might be a full-blown serial killer. For instance, he was apparently detained by the police twice before, once for arson and once for animal cruelty, both of which are well-known early behaviors of serial killers. After his arrest, several other women also came forward, testifying that he had tried to run them over with his car as well in the past.
7 other women said that he tried to run them over too. This guy loves trying to run people over. This ain't GTA, baby! What are you doing?
So, Suzanne was more than likely not his first victim. However, the most solid evidence against Giannis is in one of the deleted videos he uploaded to YouTube. In it, we can see him showing some very human-looking bones scattered throughout the same bunker Suzanne was discovered in.
No way.
These bones were never discovered by the authorities, suggesting they might have been removed by Giannis to hide evidence. But what makes this truly disturbing is what his friend says at one point in the same video.
I don't know that
this roughly
language.
Translates into, "Is this where you left that old guy?" Insinuating that Giannis had disposed of one of his previous victims in the same bunker before.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. This story just gets crazier and crazier. This guy, his family owns this old World War II bunker where this lady was found. He ended up hitting this lady with his car, took her to the bunker and left her here. But then in his deleted YouTube videos that he literally deleted, in those videos though, he showed human bones. And then one of his friends said, "Is that where you left the old guy?" Oh my god, this guy has murdered other people too.
If that is the case, one can only wonder how many other people Giannis has killed over the years.
Oh my, this guy's got to be put down, bro. I don't care if he's got life in prison. You need to send him, put him down, inject him.
Simply Manic 6075 was a YouTube channel owned and operated by 24-year-old Samantha Wolford. She lived in the small community of Monticello, Texas with her husband Ernest Lee Ibarra, aka Ernie, and their 5 children. She usually made videos about her day-to-day life and other random topics. Her story began in 2008 when she was at the lowest point of her life. She'd recently become the single mother of a pair of twins and had no love interest in her life. That's when she met Ernie at a local tattoo shop, and the two hit it off right from the get-go, eventually getting in a relationship and starting a family together.
So she met this guy at a tattoo shop, and then they just became perfect. I wonder what's going to happen. Is she going to kill somebody? Is he going to kill? Oh, God. They said they had 5 children, so I hope nothing happens to these two. Okay, let's see what happens.
In her videos, Samantha described the day she met Ernie as the happiest day of her life. Together, they were blessed with 3 more children, including 1 more pair of twins. Raising 5 kids was a challenge, but Ernie made it work by taking a second job in pizza delivery.
Okay, so this guy sounds cool. Ernie got a second job, and he became a pizza delivery driver, bro. And we ain't even talking about friggin' pizza delivery on Roblox. This guy was doing this shit in real life, dude. This guy seems good. Don't tell me she ends up killing him. Don't tell me. Because this video says YouTubers that became murderers. Do not tell me, please.
While they had endured tough times together, Samantha, Ernie, and their 5 children appeared to be the perfect loving family. However, while being a stay-at-home mother was all she could do at the time, Samantha still had a dream of becoming a famous actress one day.
I've always wanted to be an actress. I think it is so much fun. I've been extras in movies. I've had small parts in like short films. It is so much fun, and it is so beautiful. It is one of the most amazing forms of art ever, to be able to express yourself that way.
Okay.
It's amazing.
So, in October 2010, she created her YouTube channel and started posting videos, hoping to become a popular YouTuber and fulfill her dream on the internet instead.
Okay.
And things were going surprisingly okay in the beginning. Samantha would post new videos whenever she had something new to say. And while most of her videos struggled to get past 100 views at the time, the few viewers she had were enough to keep her going. But as time passed on, her passion for making videos turned into an obsession. She started spending more of her time on making videos than her family, putting even more pressure on an already stressed out Ernie. Around 2014, she also started accusing Ernie of hurting her in her videos, hinting at just how bad their relationship was going. But then, after posting a seemingly random video in March of 2014, Samantha mysteriously vanished from the internet. Maybe she lost interest in YouTube or just wanted to focus on her family again. No one knew exactly why she quit so abruptly. Then, on the 20th of February 2015, viewers finally received the update they were waiting for. Unfortunately, it was far more tragic than anyone could have imagined. It started with the Texas police receiving a call from one of Samantha's aunts asking them to save her niece's life.
Cause County 911, what's your emergency? I have a home invasion. My niece is tied up. I am at the verge of untying my niece at this particular moment. Okay, she's tied up. She is tied up and gagged.
What?
And gagged? Is that what you said, ma'am? Is there anybody else there?
Are they talking about the little kid?
We have 5 small infants asleep.
Apparently, 3 masked men broke into their home in the middle of the night and attacked the couple while they were asleep. The intruders then tied Samantha in her bedroom and, after hitting him with a gun a few times, kidnapped Ernie. Samantha somehow managed to get her ties loose enough to call her aunt, who then contacted the police after arriving at Samantha's home herself.
Why would you call your aunt, bro? Call the police. I ain't calling nobody but the police if I get captured. What the hell? Like, oh, hey, Dad, can you call the police for me? There's people in here trying to kill me.
By the time officers arrived, Samantha's aunt had set her free from the restraints. The kids were fortunately safe as well.
Thank God,
However,
bro.
what made this whole situation strange was that the intruders didn't take anything else from their home besides Ernie. And from the people who knew him personally, Ernie wasn't the type of guy to make enemies with dangerous people. Put simply, investigators sensed something fishy with the whole situation.
Dude, I think this girl set Ernie up. I think this girl paid those 3 people to come and tie her up and kidnap Ernie and kill him. Maybe she wanted him to be dead.
But all that paled in comparison to the main objective, which was to save Ernie as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Samantha didn't know anything that could give investigators their first clue. With no other option, the officers took Samantha to the station for further questioning, hoping to extract any useful information they could from her. But what none of them expected was that Samantha would change up her story completely after entering the interrogation room.
Yep.
Where before she
She's
didn't
up to
know
something.
anything about the assailants, now she had the name of a potential suspect, John Rebel. As Samantha's story goes, she was talking to her friend about Ernie's supposed attacks on Samantha, when suddenly a man with the pseudonym John Rebel overheard their conversation and started talking about how a man shouldn't treat a woman that way and that he was going to handle the situation. Well, as it turned
Sound like a
out, the
beta
name
male.
John Rebel actually belonged to someone, a man named Jonathan Sanford. The police found and arrested John not long after Samantha gave out his name, right alongside his 2 accomplices, Jose Ponce and Octavius Rhymes. Surprisingly, Jonathan...
This dude's name is Octavius Rhymes. His last name is Rhymes? Bro, why are you kidnapping people? You should probably be a rapper. Rhymes? That's fire.
Put up little to no resistance and immediately confessed to kidnapping Ernie. He also confirmed the worst possible outcome, that by the time the police got involved, Ernie was already dead.
Oh my God.
The 3 took him to a secluded forest and executed him with 1 shot to the back of his head.
Oh my God.
However, even after learning all this, one question remained. Why? Why would 3 men who didn't even know Ernie kidnap him from his home like that?
She probably paid them. I said this!
Every answer to this question pointed back to Samantha, who kept denying any involvement. Even if the investigators ignored her suddenly remembering the perpetrator's name, there were several other suspicious aspects to her story. Like, how was she able to untie herself enough to call her aunt? Why didn't any of her neighbors hear the break-in? And why were the kids all sleeping in the same room, when usually they're scattered throughout the house? It wasn't long before investigators uncovered undeniable evidence of her direct involvement. This included instruction messages she sent to Octavius when the officers were trying to call Ernie's phone, which he had on him. These read, "Kill his phone, shut that down, ditch phone, move." There was no doubt about it at this point. Samantha was in colluding with her husband's killers. And as the investigation went on, the real story came out as well. Samantha had apparently become addicted to the idea of becoming a famous YouTuber, and her neglect of the kids became a constant source of fighting between the couple.
Okay, so this girl wanted to become a YouTuber so bad, so she stopped paying attention to her kids. She stopped taking care of her kids. Ernie was mad. He was like, bro, you're a stay-at-home mom. I'm working my butt off to pay for these children, to raise them right, and to pay for you, and you're sitting at home, you don't have a job. You want to get famous on YouTube. You're broke. You got no views, buddy. And then that's why they would argue, and she wanted to eliminate him.
But instead of resolving the issue like a responsible adult, Samantha colluded with her friend's boyfriend to hatch a cartoonishly evil scheme to get rid of Ernie. They first wanted to plant hard drugs in his car and get him arrested, but later made the heartless decision that taking his life would be much easier. There's also a chance that Samantha went with the murder plan because it would have brought her more attention on YouTube. She was eventually sentenced to 149 years in prison for
140.
killing her own husband, leaving her 5 children completely orphaned in the process.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. She killed the dad of the kids. She went to jail for 150 years. The kids all had to get new families. Hopefully they found good families. All that. Wow. She's messed up. I hate her. Let's see what else happened.
Anna Lovejoy was a successful technical writer living in the town of Carlsbad, California with her husband Greg Mulvihill. However, while her corporate job paid the bills, Diana's true passion was becoming a triathlon athlete and documenting her journey on video, resulting in her eventually starting her own fitness blog called Lovejoy Fitness and a YouTube channel by the name of Heavy DJ. She started this channel
Heavy DJ? What the hell? Okay.
all the way back in 2008, and over the years used it to document various parts of her life. From meeting her parents after a long time to going scuba diving with her husband. At one point, she even tried to become a cooking show host of sorts.
Doesn't that smell nice?
Unfortunately, her channel never really took off, forcing her to eventually cut her losses and move on with her life in March of 2012. Or at least that's what it looked like from the outside. In reality, Diana's reason for abandoning her YouTube channel was kind of wholesome. You see, Diana and Greg had been trying for a baby for years by this point. Tragically, Diana had suffered 8 different miscarriages and was quickly losing hope.
What the fuck? Bro, 8 miscarriages? Bro, y'all need to quit.
But then in September of 2012, the two were blessed with a perfectly healthy baby boy, marking an end to their struggle. However, what should have been a moment of celebration started a downward spiral of lies and betrayals, eventually culminating in an assassination attempt.
Oh my god, dude. I just remembered what this video is. I was like, oh my god, this is a happy family. Oh, I forgot that these people end up killing. Okay, let's see what happens.
Going downhill when just a few months after the birth of their son, Greg lost his job, leaving Diana as the sole breadwinner. The stress of the previous miscarriages, combined with the crushing weight of having to support a family in an extremely expensive city all on her own, spelled disaster for their marriage. It wasn't long before the two were constantly fighting with each other. Things escalated even further on July 9, 2014, when Greg returned home only to see a police officer waiting for him at the door. The officer explained that Greg wasn't allowed to enter his own home because, as it turned out, Diana had accused him of attacking both her and their son. What followed was a nearly 2-year-long divorce mediation, during which the investigators found no evidence supporting Diana's accusations.
This guy don't look like somebody who would hurt his wife and child. This girl is crazy, dude. Just claiming that your husband beat up your child or beat you up when it didn't even happen is so weird. Like, y'all need to stay away from crazy, y'all. If y'all meet women, if you're a guy, if you meet girls, make sure they're not crazy, bro.
Get a 50-50 custody of their son. Diana was also ordered to pay $120,000 as a part of their divorce settlement in late 2015. Wow. But before the divorce could be finalized, Greg received a phone call from an anonymous number that changed everything. The voice on the other end claimed to be a private investigator Diana had hired recently. And according to this investigator, he already had solid proof of the attack claims Diana had made against Greg. But for some unknown reason, he wanted to help Greg win the case, so he claimed to have left the documents taped to a power pole located on a small hiking trail near Greg's home. Greg naturally found this whole thing pretty suspicious and decided to take one of his friends with him to the pole on the night of September 4th, 2016.
Smart.
Sadly, despite his suspicions, he failed to grasp the true intentions of the strangely helpful private detective.
Hello, this is 911.
Yeah. My friend has just been shot.
Do you know who shot him?
There's a guy lying down like a sniper.
A sniper? Did you see him at all?
Briefly, we saw the gun, and he shot at us like 6 or 7 times.
When Greg reached the pole, a sniper opened fire on him, shooting him clean through the chest. Fortunately, the bullet missed his heart by mere inches, giving him a second chance at life. By the time the police arrived, the shooter had already fled the crime scene. But a quick survey of the area allowed the investigators to uncover a pair of towels the shooter left behind. Running a DNA test on these towels led to a man named Weldon McDavid, Diana's shooting instructor. Weldon tried to deny any involvement at first, but the evidence against him was overwhelming, as after a thorough search, investigators were able to find another set of the same towels at Diana's place as well. They had also received CCTV footage of Diana buying the burner phone Weldon later used to lure Greg into the secluded area. Most importantly, investigators also found the gun Weldon used on Greg, hidden in the rafters of his garage. By this point, it was clear that Diana was the one who wanted to get rid of Greg, likely to avoid paying the divorce settlement and keep full custody of her son.
Okay, I haven't said anything in like 20 minutes because this girl claimed that her husband was trying to hurt her and her son. So she lied about that. The husband never did anything wrong. Then the judge found out after 2 years that she was lying. So she ordered her to pay the husband $120,000. She did not want to pay that because she's broke and crazy. So she decided to hire a sniper. She hired somebody to snipe her husband. I thought you only did that in the army or in video games.
Diana and Weldon were arrested for the attempted assassination on Greg Mulvihill and tried for their crimes in November 2017. Both were found guilty, with Diana sentenced to 26 years to life and Weldon to a harsher 50 years to life. The only silver lining in this entire case is that Greg was able to make a full recovery and is now living with his son.
That's awesome, dude! She didn't actually kill him. Thank God! Thank God, dude, he got to survive. It's like Michael from GTA 5. He gets shot. Ah! What? Okay, sorry, but it's a good thing that he survived. Oh my God, here's the next story.
The Gunnar Runar 87 channel on YouTube seems oddly wholesome at first glance. It's owned by an Icelandic boy named Gunnar Runar Sigthorsson and
this dude's name is Gunnar Runar. Oh, you better punch your dad in the jaw, dude. What type of name?
Single 3.5-minute video of him confessing his feelings to the girl he loves. The title translates to English as My Confession to Hildur. In it, he says things like,
she is without a doubt the most special human being I've ever met. I become so happy only being close to her. That's all it takes. This is meant for you. Okay, so this guy's really in love. Yeah. He says, I think I fall. So he made a video for this girl that he really, really likes. Seems wholesome, but something weird is going to happen.
However, this seemingly heartfelt love letter turned out to be the key to solving one of the most horrific crimes in recent Icelandic history. And it all led back to Gunnar and the troubled life he had as a child. You see, Gunnar didn't have a mother growing up, resulting in him getting extremely close with his father. However, on the night of September 20th, 1996, when Gunnar was just 9 years old, his father decided to end it all using a gun. What made this already messed up situation even worse was the fact that Gunnar was in the room with his father and witnessed everything. Unsurprisingly, this took a heavy toll on Gunnar's mental health.
Dude, that's messed
He
up.
withdrew from the world and refused to accept his father's death as reality. Everything seemed hopeless for Gunnar. That is until primary school, when he met a girl named Hildur and instantly became infatuated with her. He'd admired her throughout school and into adulthood, but never found the courage to make a move, fearing he'd lose his only close friend. However, things changed in 2009 when Hildur got engaged to a man named Hannes. This gave Gunnar the push to do something about his feelings. But given his shy personality, he still couldn't confront Hildur directly. So, in March of 2009, he created a YouTube channel and uploaded his confession on there. Hildur never reciprocated his feelings, but the two remained friends. Even Hannes, Hildur's now husband, didn't seem to mind Gunnar's company, something he likely regretted deeply just a year later. It all went down on the 14th of August 2010. Hildur was invited to a party that Gunnar was attending as well. But things got a bit out of hand and Hildur ended up drinking too much and passing out. Given their closeness, the task of getting her home safely was handed to Gunnar. But instead of dropping her off at Hannes' house like he should have, Gunnar took her to his own home. By the time Hildur woke up, it was already morning. She was understandably furious with Gunnar and immediately called one of her friends to drive her home. But nothing could have prepared Hildur for the horrific scene she witnessed on the other side of her front door. Her husband Hannes was lying on the top of the staircase near their bedroom, submerged in a pool of his own blood. She ran outside and called the authorities. Sadly, it was already too late. Hannes had received over 20 stab wounds on his body, from his arms and legs to the back of his neck, and was long dead by the time Hildur found him. Given his condition, his death was ruled a homicide and investigators wasted no time in looking for the killer. And while they initially suspected one of his business rivals of committing this horrific crime, it didn't take long for investigators to find Gunnar's video confession to Hildur and bring him in for questioning. Gunnar denied knowing anything about it and was eventually let go due to lack of evidence. Fortunately, not all hope was lost, because not long after that, investigators found a bloody shoe print next to Hannes' bed. Looking deeper into this print revealed that it belonged to a pair of limited edition Adidas shoes. At the time, there were only 18 of these specific shoes in all of Iceland.
Wow.
And Gunnar just so happened to own one of these pairs. This was enough evidence to detain him once again. This also gave investigators the authority to do a thorough search of his belongings, resulting in them finding residue of Hannes' blood on his shoes, as well as in his car. Once presented with this evidence, Gunnar confessed to the murder. He also revealed that he'd been planning it for months, and even shoplifted the items he intended to use to avoid purchase records linking back to him. And while he didn't admit to it, Hildur also suspected him of spiking her drink that night, since she usually never passed out like that. After committing the crime, he also drove to a nearby pier and dumped items used in the crime into the sea to get rid of any evidence. It was a well thought out plan, since he was only caught because the garbage bag he used to hide his shoe prints tore open as he walked. As for his motive, it was just as everyone had expected, with him making it clear during the investigation, stating, "I loved Hildur. She was supposed to be with me. She was not supposed to be with him." Surprisingly, he was found not guilty during his first trial on March 1, 2011 by reason of insanity stemming from his messed up childhood. However, the prosecution argued that he was fully aware of his actions and escalated the case to the Supreme Court of Iceland.
Not guilty?
Gunnar was found guilty on this second trial and was sentenced to 16 years in prison.
16?
This was already lenient given the brutality of his crime,
16?
yet he ended up serving only half of that sentence as well.
8?
He was released under supervision in July 2019 and now works at a local warehouse.
He killed somebody. He stabbed somebody and now he's out. Bro, this is his channel right here. Oh man, this is weird, bro. He posted this 16 years ago. This is the literal video.
Hi.
Oh, he doesn't even speak English, but oh my gosh, dude, look at the comments. People are like, bro, who's here from this? The fact that he's even allowed to walk free is mind-boggling. He should have been given the death penalty. Dude, that's facts, bro. This is insane, bro.